wanna get high, man?
Let's stimulate your mind.
Get up, Chucky!
What have we got here? A fucking comedian.
Rojan Kim.
California dreaming.
He was a Chinese brush painter, and like right there, right.
Hey, your grandfather was a calligraphist, a Chinese calligraphist.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, right here. Yeah, this is his. That's
his
his
signature.
sign.
Yeah, that's his signature. What's
Yeah.
his name? What's his Chinese name?
Little Tiger.
Oh no shit, that's so dope.
Yeah.
Dude. How long
Yeah,
did he study that for? How long? Like, how did he?
So,
do that?
I mean, he was always like in college and everything. He was like into art. He like after he graduated college, he was like a professor at UCSD for biochemistry, but he always had a thing of art. And so like one day he went over to China because he found this style that he like really loved, just Chinese brush painting. And he was like, I want to learn this better. So he flew over to China, lived there for a while, learned the language, learned how, and like studied under them. And like he was doing that for a while.
Oh, that's sick, man. That
Yeah.
is basically high art in most of like East Asia, essentially. You know, like Japan and Korea too. There's like people who study calligraphy. You know, this is like a big deal. You know, to be,
Yeah, that's actually these are actually his paintings. Like that's an unfinished painting.
Oh
right
no
there.
shit! Wow.
And then this is kind of finished. It's like halfway done, but he wasn't finished with that one. And then that one is a finished painting.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So basically, the creativity is in the family. Creativity.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
have
Yeah, this character actually means strength. It was the last thing he painted because he had cancer. It was the last thing he painted right before he
no
died.
shit. Oh
Yeah.
wow, man, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
That's dope.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I still
forgot
feel like,
I even had it up.
yeah.
I had it for I was doing the Asian Kiki Young's Crazy Woke Asian Festival, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I put this up for that, and I totally forgot I still had it up there.
Yeah. That's I always joke about how I will never be booked on that.
Why? Why not?
No, I'm just because I feel like I'm mostly I don't know, I'm just crazy and Asian, probably not woke enough. I may not be woke enough for them. I don't know. Well, honestly, you know why? Because I don't I started in filmmaking, and filmmaking is similar, you know, with like there's sort of it's just a real like kind of tribalistic kind of like Asian comedy and the Asian films and the Asian people and the Asian and it's not like I hate being Asian or Asian people. I mean, it's just I grew up with them, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just
Bro.
no, I'm just saying, look, all I'm saying is that like
I'm with you.
When it comes to art, I can't truck with the subdividing of it, because I just feel like I don't want to play. That's not the playing field I want to be. I want to be on the playing field. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be on.
Like I feel you the same. Like personally, like I'm down to be on a black show, right? But I don't want to be considered the black comedian.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Comedian. Yeah.
Like I just want to be a comedian who also is black. You know, like.
And you know who else had that mentality, man? Fucking O.J. Simpson, okay? And I think...
Right? And
if there's a hero... Listen, if there's a hero to be had right now, O.J. Simpson, have you ever seen him on Twitter?
No, I saw when he said he was going on to Twitter, that was the scariest motherfucking thing in the world.
No, you have to understand. This is one of the most insane, bizarre things in the world, but O.J. Simpson is one of the most, like... stable people on Twitter. It's like,
what?
Yeah, no. He puts out videos that are just like he's just having fun, goofing around, being delightful. You know, he's just like, I'm just saying, you know, and then everything's just kind of like, hey, I'm golfing and I'm having a good time, and hey, I think that Carol Baskin totally killed her husband. I'm just saying. But it's just like, it's almost like people have started loving him just for that.
No.
Like, I'm serious, man. I'm serious. It's almost like of all people, you would never think that this is what was happening, but he is like so happy. He seems so stable and happy, and everybody is just like on board. And I mean, but the thing is, he has such good charisma. You know what I mean? He's a charismatic motherfucker. That's to say, he's always been one. You know what I mean?
I don't really know O.J. Simpson as a person. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Like, Oh,
No,
how
no,
old
I
are you,
just
man?
know him. I'm 32.
Okay, so you're not like super
So
young.
not
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no, no,
but
no.
you're
But
okay.
like I just never really got into him as a person.
Gotcha.
Like I never like I was never into football as far as following it like a fanatic. I didn't care
Hmm.
about numbers and shit. I just liked watching the sportsman shit and the fun. That was fun for me. So I never really knew like OJ Simpson the celebrity. You know what I
Uh,
mean?
um,
So like so yeah, no. I just
yeah,
heard
man.
third party that he was just a sweetheart.
Very charismatic. People love. I mean, everybody loved him. Everybody fucking loved him. One of the reasons he got a lot of flack was back in the. You should see the 30 for 30 on him. If anything, it's a masterpiece.
Okay.
Like it's a great
Okay.
documentary because it's not just about him, but it really goes into depth about the context, the cultural context around him. So when he was coming
Ooh.
up, it was during the 60s. It was during the civil rights movement, and
Oh
back
shit.
then it was very controversial for him to be like, I'm not a black athlete, I'm just an athlete. You know what I mean? Like it was in the middle of the
Wow.
civil rights
Yeah.
movement where everybody's like, I'm
Yeah.
black and I'm proud. And everybody's like taking sides on it. And he was like, so at that point, he was kind of seen, well, you know what happens when a black person is like, hey, white people aren't so bad or whatever, like they turned on him. So the black people basically turned on OJ. And so one of the things that it kind of highlights is the way race played a part in the public's perception of OJ, because by the time we got to the 90s and he was on trial, it became a black versus white thing, except black people were on OJ's side. Like it's actually what it really
Whoa.
is it's a
Whoa.
documentary about how much of a genius Johnny Cochran is in order to take an entire population of people who hated OJ and turn him into like a black icon, like turn him into like I mean
That's
Johnny Cochran did it
crazy.
single hand. Like you should see some of the shit he did. I mean this is one thing, and I'm not even ruining anything. He had the jury go to OJ's house, and he redecorated the whole place. Like he had like African shit.
Ah no.
Yeah, like it's like I mean, it was all like calculated. Like the man was, you know what
Whoa.
I mean? The man was brilliant. The man was say what you will about it.
Whoa.
The
And
man,
it
I
was
mean,
all
Cochran was a
African
genius.
shit from the motherland,
Yeah, yeah,
from
yeah,
all the
yeah. And
oh
pictures of
wow.
his mom up front and shit. You know what I mean? Like pictures of like just like because there
Wow.
were a lot of black women on the jury. There were like black women. There were black. They were. You know what I'm saying? Like there was
Cochran
like
is genius.
he's a genius motherfucker. Like so that's one of the things that's a great out. Like the thing about OJ is like how race intersects with wealth, like fucking, and you know what I mean, and fucking law and all that shit, like because at the same time you have the backdrop of the Rodney King beating happening in LA.
Oh right,
You have
right,
this,
right,
you
right,
have
right.
all this shit going on at the same time that all led to um, the outcome that it did. But anyways, I feel like just like OJ, both of us would rather be would rather be known for our art, okay, than our skin color. All right, like that's.
You know what though? The only problem is, especially with comedy, I think, or at least in comedy, I think, is that like I do want to talk about my race and that like a lot, you know?
Yeah, yeah, man. No, but and I don't think that's the same. You know what I mean? Like,
Right?
uh,
Like
this is
I'm
this is
not
what.
racist, but I
Yeah,
am
dude.
very racial,
Of
you know?
course, and you can't help it because that's who you are. You know what I
No,
mean?
and like well, like when people are like, how do you come up with jokes? It's usually things that irritate you in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like things that are just like, wait, what the fuck just happened? Like things that just don't. And a lot of those moments are like racial moments where I'm like, wait, what the fuck is going on? Like
Oh
right
yeah.
now, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, I think part of comedy is for me is pointing out hypocrisies. Like that's what's
Exactly.
entertaining.
Yes.
And racism, all of that is the biggest hypocrisy of all because
It's such an easy, obvious hypocrisy,
it's like under any scrutiny it falls apart. You know what I mean? Like you give
right?
it 1 second of thought, you're like, oh, that's just fucking. You know what I mean? Like it's just silly. That's what's
Dude,
silly.
the other night, freaking I don't know, it was like someone made a joke. Like there was an older lady, and we were all talking, and someone made the joke. Oh yeah, no, but she wouldn't be into black guys. And I was like, why? Her dad's dead,
Yeah.
and and like and she
You're
like the older lady turned and was just like, "Excuse me." I was like, I mean, you have no one to judge you at this point, so I
Right.
don't know why you would
Yeah.
even like that. That's not a thing. Like it's
Right.
not like why.
She wanted
So
it.
that's
That lady.
just
That lady wanted it the most. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like,
Right.
come on, what are you breaking any news by saying like pretty much all chicks want to fuck a black dude? What are you saying? Like, I mean, that's just,
Like, I mean, it's up to you to tell people. So
well, of
if
course.
you like, no one has to know. I'm not gonna go out and billboard that I fucked an old lady. Like, you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
just conceptually, it doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's
just like,
absurd. It's but what's even more absurd is there's something to me almost more racist in today's climate in attempting to fight racism. You know what I mean? It's like the well-meaning person who accidentally ends up like offending everybody, even though they're like
dude,
not to be but they end up because everybody's like so it's like everybody walking on so many eggshells that they end up just acting like idiots or like saying the most ridiculous things.
I've said this jokingly before, but everybody is so woke now that they forget that the rest of us have had insomnia this entire time.
Right.
And we just want you to drink some coffee and fix your shit. Like, shut the fuck up, drink some coffee and get to work. Cause like you're woke, but you're not working on shit. Like
right.
Woke, awesome. Now work. Like
I honestly though, I feel like declaring you're woke is probably one of the first signs you're not woke. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Like, I don't think enlightenment comes with like, yeah, I'm enlightened. Like the smug satisfaction.
like I mean, it's great that you had this aha moment,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that you're sharing it, and that's dope. You know, in that moment, you're excited, and you had that aha moment. You're like, whoa! But to continue that excitement, and like a badge of honor, is not how woke works. Like, you know.
Also, well, because I think also, if you want, we get a little bit more philosophical here. It's like the idea is that you have come to some conclusion, an internal realization, right? You've come to some realization about the world and yourself. So then to feel great about it is actually like, that's a lack of humility. You know what I mean? That's the opposite of what the whole revelation. The revelation is that it's supposed to make you humble. You know what I mean? Like it's not supposed to make you feel better than everybody else.
Like fucking pray in silence. Like no one's out
here. Exactly.
Like buying a commercial and praying on it. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
It's exactly like the Christians who are like so pro-America and so proud to be Christian, but it's just like humility was like supposed to be the cornerstone of Christianity, and you're not supposed to have any nation. There is no other nation but, you know, the one before God. You know what I mean? There's supposed to be no nation. Like it's like none of this makes any sense. That's why, you know, it's like not real. That's why the same thing with like sort of the brigade, you know, people who are like, I'm fighting racism and I'm fighting white supremacy, and the people who are like, I just feel like I don't think you've actually experienced it. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, I feel like I'll just stay in my lane. I'll just pick Asians, right? A lot of Asians, especially the ones like sort of younger than me, because I'm 42. So I've been, you know, I've grown up back when there was no like, nobody cared if anybody was nice to Asians. That was not even in the, you know what I mean? People are still dealing with black people. They barely could deal with, you know what I'm saying? Like it was.
When I was doing research on Asian history, because that's what Crazy Rogue Asians were for, was Asian History Month, right?
Uh-huh.
So I was doing the research on it, and like what you're saying is what I was researching. I was like, oh my God, like, so blacks and Hispanics got like basically Hispanic Awareness Month and Black History Month, basically, right? Back like way back when. Mm-hmm. But this was like Asian History Week was brought up back in like the 30s, right? And then it didn't get passed until the 90s. Like I was like, I'm sorry, what? 60 years.
Well, that's because we were at war in Asia the whole time. That's why the whole thing. Like we've been fighting in Asia since like the early basically since the Opium War. The Opium War is like 1850, so that's the first time they cracked open China. to sell opium. You know what I mean? And ever since then, it was just like all the white people just like flooded China and fucking split it up. But I think, listen, my whole point is that like, as bad things are bad, sure, but that's all relative, right? You know what I mean? And so the Asians in America are basically pretty much one of the most well-off Asians in the world. You know what I mean? If you want to just go numbers, like, you know what I mean? Like like I'm being lucky enough to grow up here, like that makes me so lucky compared to the billions of other motherfuckers that are out there right now. Like, and the numbers game over there in the old world, you know what I'm saying? Like I am glad I'm in the new world. You know what I mean? I'm glad. I don't know what they did, but they got over here, and I'm glad. And I think that there is a sort of there's an interesting fetishizing of like hating America and hating white people. Like, I mean, white people is the easiest one. Everybody can just dump on white people. You know what I mean? You'd be like, fuck white people. Yeah, and it's fine. You know, that's fine. You know, like nobody cares. Like, you know, comedy, you see it all the fucking time. You know what I mean? Like, just how many jokes. It's honestly, if you were like an alien and were totally devoid of any connection to the racial stuff and the cultural stuff, and you saw what was going on, you'd be like, whoa, it's kind of like, it's like they're making the jokes. They're basically making the same jokes, but doing it, just flipping who you can make the jokes on. The jokes are the same. It's not like the jokes are the same. It's just who you can make them against now. And that's basically all it is. Yeah.
It was white. I think it was white, then black people, then Mexicans, then what was it? Oh yeah, Middle Eastern, now Asian.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you mean down the who you can make fun of ladder? Like, I think
pretty much, yeah.
I kind of feel like it's always based on war. Like, you know what I mean?
Like,
it's sort of like
who, war and I guess and now disease, like, because it's based on who's like the most ostracized, right?
Yeah, but even the disease thing is like, it's not as much like the disease thing operates on the war thing. You know what I mean? Like the war thing was going on for 100 years. You have to think about 100 years of war in this country, right?
Okay.
Against Asians. So for the longest time, they were the enemy. There was even they weren't even allowed back in. There was a Chinese Exclusion Act, and then it wasn't until like the late 60s they let Asian people back in. So basically, throughout this whole time, people were in Korea, Vietnam, whatever, fighting the Japs.
Chinese Exclusion Act and it was like the Gibby something. There was like another thing.
There was another thing to, I think, include non-China.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, oh shit, you mean there's more than Chinese?
There's like two things that went down that year, like back to back, that just like excluded Chinese. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, but if you do think about it, just think about the fucking craziness that was going on in labor between free black people and poor white people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they were, I mean, it makes sense. If you're a capital and you want to fuck with labor, you just pit poor black people against poor white people, right? And then see if they undercut each other, and whoever, you know, and then you can fucking you could hire them for as less as possible because they're competing against each other. But enter the Chinese, because the Chinese would work for half, you know what I'm saying, and do twice the work. So that was it was a huge problem, you know what I'm saying? It was like so that was a big reason why they got, even though, it's racist, but at the same time, it made sense why they could get all the fucking laborers to vote on the Chinese Exclusion Act. Because they're basically like, listen, these motherfuckers are going to come in here and fucking outwork all of you. Okay, so.
Because like what's it called? Scabs? You know what I'm talking about? Like people are on strike.
Yep.
Yeah. So that it was like scab culture.
Yeah, Chinese scabs, man. Yeah, and Chinese, dude, that's the one thing Chinese can do. That's why they are where they are now, is they can undercut everyone on labor. They would make that shit cheap as fuck.
Fuck, man. Well, I'm glad I'm black. Fuck that.
Well, good for you. Good for you, buddy.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You should have came out this way. It's a lot better.
I know, man. I wish I'd roll a dice, you know. Though there were a couple times I had some run-ins with the cops where I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. There's a couple times where I was like, it would be really nice to be white right now.
Wouldn't it be awesome to have like a race camouflage, like a little device that was like I always thought about this. Yeah, it's like a hologram. Like women can use it too to look bigger and scarier in the dark or whatever. But like if
Oh,
you know what I mean, you could just change your fucking race just based on to fit in. Like so you know, so
that would change dynamics everywhere,
wouldn't that
because
be
like,
crazy? Yeah.
well, I mean, think about it. Like, if I were like, if I wanted to become a CEO of a company and move up and stuff, then I would just make myself a little bit taller if I was a short person. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yeah,
With the
exactly.
hologram.
Yeah. Yeah, you got rid of it'll be so
Oh,
weird to equalize you start equalizing looks, right? You
what
start
if
equalizing looks.
what's that called? A catfish. What if you were catfished,
Yeah.
but like the thing just malfunctioned during the date?
Yeah, like turned off.
You know,
And you're like,
and you're like,
"Ah!
oh,
Ah!"
you're a 5-year-old man.
And then there would be a political movement just kind of like the trans movement of like don't you whatever it's called, they would be like you're that phobic, you know what I mean, like you'd be fucking like because I'm transition, like this is
That'd
my
be
identity, I'm
gnarly.
expressing myself, so like don't you judge me or like
Oh my God. What about like bestiality? What's that called?
that's
What furries? What about
furries.
furry shit?
They would just look like
Yo,
animals, they would look like badass
mm,
animals and fuck each other.
that would be insane. Oh my God. What? Ugh. Ugh.
I mean, some of it would be really creative, but some of it would be disgusting. A lot of it would be really gross. So,
Absolutely
like,
disgusting.
I mean, there'd be some real beauty in there, I'm sure.
Oh
You could
my.
find some.
I mean,
Oh god!
I
But I feel like knowing us, it would probably most everybody would end up looking the same. You know what
You
I mean?
think
I feel
so?
like, yeah, I feel like even our country, America, the freest country in the world, like I feel like there's a fair bit of conformity. You know what I mean? Like you can kind of, and I think being a comic for me has helped me kind of see that. You know what I mean? Like it's people will fall in line, man. People
I bet.
motherfucking will
I bet there would
lockstep.
be like groups of holograms. Like there would be like the block group, like the cubes, and there'd be like, you know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
oh, that's fascinating. Okay, so like one that's just like we're taking on no pleasing shape, just like
Hmm.
so that you don't judge us for our looks, right? Like
Right.
there'd be like the fat chicks and
Ah,
like we are all beautiful. Blocky is beautiful, and they just walk
all the
just his
all the
blocks.
incels. Every incel is
Yeah,
just a
every ugly
square.
person. But actually, but that doesn't make any sense because you could just make yourself beautiful. Like if you're ugly, you could always make yourself beautiful. So then is this some kind of weird
Right, but
political thing? You're saying it's some
I
kind of
think
weird political thing.
I'm thinking they're saying they're putting a statement, like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh shit.
Like,
Goddamn. Do you think those would actually be like good looking people who are mad? Like good people who are good looking in real life who are like, well now we have
dude,
no edge. Well what the
well, I
fuck,
mean
man?
that would make for a good that would make for like a good, what's it called, like short story or whatever, like a TV show. A whole bunch of ugly people that are masked by the blocks, and then some good looking person infiltrates and learns out that he actually likes these people, but he really was like a
It's
news
like, oh,
reporter
these
trying to talk
uggos
about,
actually aren't so bad. Like,
right?
actually kind of
He actually
bad.
learns the wrongs of his ways.
Oh man. Well, did you hear about how on TikTok they found the algorithm was like purposely deranking people they thought were ugly and poor?
Yeah, they were, because it did that for black people.
Oh,
It
which
wasn't
one?
it was
Oh,
no,
what?
no, no,
No,
no.
no, actually, I believe
TikTok
it.
TikTok
They're
wasn't
Chinese,
putting
yeah.
black people
Yeah.
on the front page purposefully, and then there was a movement within TikTok, and they're like, a whole bunch of black people were like, "Yo, this sucks. Let's show TikTok that like we care, that we matter, we do have a voice." And so yeah, it was a whole thing on TikTok for some reason, which was sad. I wasn't really a part of it. I didn't
I
I was just kind of like a watcher. I was just watching all of it, but
yeah.
it looked serious. Like it looked real.
Yeah, well, I mean they're a Chinese company and it does it. I mean, it's not like I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never put it's hard with the Chinese. It's like I don't really put a sinister spin on the Chinese. The Chinese are actually, if anything, like incredibly practical. So they'll just do whatever is the quickest, shortest way to do stuff. You know what I mean? Like they'll just do
Yeah. Yeah, but
whatever. I mean, they are
yeah, but
racist. I'm not, they,
Chinese are
yeah.
very scared of black people.
Oh no, no, no. They're
That's
racist. I mean, and
definitely.
in China, the Chinese in China are incredibly racist. You know what I mean? Like the
Oh yeah,
Chinese outside of China are probably the most non-racist Chinese
dude.
of all the
My
Chinese.
cousin was telling me he was in China and he smelled some like some really good like curries or something. He was like,
Uh-huh.
oh man, and he was with his Chinese friend, tour guide or whatever, and he was like, oh, what is that? It smells good. And she goes, you like that smell? That's
Right.
Indian food.
Right.
Ugh,
Yeah.
Indians
Yeah.
are
Gross.
gross. I was
Gross.
like,
They're
and she
disgusting.
was like, have you ever tried the food? She was like,
Ew.
no, because
No.
Indians are gross.
Yeah.
I
They're
was like,
gross.
whoa,
Yeah,
that's
man.
crazy.
Well, that's what the thing is. The rest of the world still has. They're like decades behind our racism. You know what I mean? They their racism is like the racism we see in movies. Like that's the
Yeah.
way like
Did,
so like we're actually leading the way. Like
did you see
we
that
could.
YouTube? You see
Which
that
one?
YouTube of the Asian lady? Like this guy, he was in like a Spider-Man outfit, and he jumps out from behind a pole and tries to scare this old Asian lady. He's like, ah, and she's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, 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 oh. And he's like, man, and he takes off the mask and he's black, and she's like,
Oh, no, actually, you know what? Actually, this is a very interesting case study of, you know what that actually was, though? You know what happened? Because I know what that
what?
is. So that was in Korea. That was in South Korea. And that dude is actually a huge star in Korea.
No way.
Yeah,
What?
that dude is actually a huge celebrity. So the lady, when she saw him, was freaking out because it was this TV. First, she thought it was some goofy,
No.
like, yeah. She thought it was some goofy Spider-Man guy. And then when he took the thing off, he was like, oh, she was like, she freaked the fuck out because she had like, you know, I mean, I'm sure the
That's
fact that,
way better.
listen, that's not to say I know my people. I'm sure a black face might have scared her because honestly, listen, if you live in a place where there's only Korean faces and then a non-Korean face comes out from under a Spider-Man mask, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's like some level of like, I'll give you that, right? Like, it's weird. It's not normal. It's not. You're expecting a Korean guy at least, at the very least. I get it. It's different in America where you could be like, come on, you've seen not other people before. But the overly freaked out reaction was a celebrity. It was like a celebrity sighting.
Okay, that makes so much more. That's at least it's I like that a lot better.
Well, but what's funny is that the same image without that context, you inject, you know what I'm saying? So that's actually exactly what I was saying about the how the racism. See, in order to think that, it is actually a racist thought. To think, oh, she fucking was scared of him because he was a black guy. That's a racist. You're having that racist side, and you're putting it on her, even if she didn't have it. You know what I mean? Like once you find out, oh, she didn't have it, then you're like, oh, fuck, I'm the. You mean the whole time the racist was me? Like,
I'm so racist.
No, I am too. That's the thing. It's like
God.
I'm racist, and I think that's the thing about us versus, let's just call them like you're a non-comedian. No. I don't like being like civilian or normie or whatever, but I'm just saying, no, people don't fucking think about this shit. You know what I mean? Like to them, it's like, of course that's what it is. You know, be like that's just reality without second guessing, thinking like, oh no, wait, I'm the racist. I'm totally being racist here.
No, I'm totally. Yeah, it was me.
Like, and then if you were to try to get them to see that, they could get almost violent in being like, no, you're the you're the racist, you know what I mean? It's so emotional.
Don't open me up to truth.
Next thing you know, I'm gonna have to be introspective.
Who are you, my therapist? My mother?
Father! Oh, anyways, wait, back to your dad. Your father passed, you said, right? And he painted,
my grandpa.
It was your grandpa who painted the calligraphy.
Yeah.
And he passed because of that. So then was this sort of a big part of, was Chinese culture like in his life? Because I mean, obviously it affected him a great deal. So it must have been a big part of like, it must have been around and shit, right? Like it must have been.
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, it was dope. I mean, but it wasn't just Chinese. It was just Asian culture.
Culture in general.
Because like I was like my uncle, he was into martial arts, and then that got me into martial arts, and then I started. So my grandpa was like Chinese brush painting, and then he also knew Japanese as far as like the language and everything like that.
Did he serve?
He knew. In the
military? Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He knew like 8 different languages. Like my grandpa was he was a genius.
Wait. So when do you know when he started? Like, was he in World War II?
He was in
Korea?
Yeah, he was in World War II.
Wow. Oh shit.
Yeah.
That must have been some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, and then my uncle martial arts, and then that was
What?
that was another Chinese thing because he did a lot of kung fu and a lot of
Kung fu.
karate, a lot of karate and kung fu, and then
Uh-huh.
I branched off into Tae Kwon Do from karate, and so I was around a lot of Korean. Yeah,
remember that? You remember that?
A lot of Koreans.
Does that bring back memories? Is that triggering? Taekwon! Taekwon! It's like we all had. Actually, I like to joke and
Holy
say,
shit.
if you ever took Taekwondo, you pretty much know what it's like to have an Asian dad. Like, you know what it's like. That's pretty much what it was like.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it was like.
Yeah,
That's the amount of affection we got. That's the amount of positive reinforcement.
You know what though? You know what? I mean, I will say you don't get a lot of like positive affection and positive reinforcement, but when you do, man, it feels it is so gigantic. Like the pride that they show.
Oh my God.
And it's just so subtle, but it's like
he's like, yeah.
Oh,
he's like,
and you're like,
oh my! You don't understand how many Asian kids want that from their parents. You don't understand? That's all they. No, 101%. How much extra credit was? Like they want to know what the total was. So even if it's 100%, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like that's just
it's
never enough.
that simple.
Just with a nod. Just a nod, and you're just like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. No,
that nod can last for months.
No, for Asian kids, it's a lifetime. They go to their graves thinking about it.
Right?
You know what? The old man wasn't so bad,
Right?
Old man was tough, but he wasn't so bad,
He nodded that one time.
Oh no, he knew. I don't know. It is what it is. I mean,
that bamboo fucking stick. Oh my fucking God.
Yeah, you get whacked and shit.
Woo!
Yeah.
That shit.
That's just...
Man. Yup.
Yeah.
And then like when you were doing something wrong and they didn't correct you, that hurt. Oh, woo!
Yeah, because that means there's just no hope for you. There's just, you know what I mean? You're just like, he's not worth correcting.
Oh my God.
He's not worth correcting. He's not.
Fucking brutal. And then you work hard just to be corrected. You just work hard just to get back.
Just get back into the thing.
To them correcting you.
Yeah.
So, no, I understand having an Asian parent. Yep, I can get it.
Yeah, I mean, it really speaks to, back in the day, survival was sort of very important. You know what I mean? That was actually real. So that was the pressure. It wasn't like the pressure to be liked or any of that. It's like just the pressure to just survive. We might die. We might all starve. Yeah, we might get shot. Someone might come and just start shooting us. Yeah, we gotta go. Get
your shit together. We're on the brink.
Really no time. Yeah, we don't have any time for this. But now, now it's different. It ain't like that anymore. So that's dope. So a lot of Asian, there's a lot of sort of Asian culture while you're growing up, just an appreciation for it, shit like that. I just felt like there was a lot of opportunities. Like when Bruce Lee first came out in the 60s, a lot of Black people just got on board with Kung Fu and shit and I think a lot of it is because Bruce Lee was the first time a non-white dude was beating the shit out of white people on the big screen.
Yeah.
It really was. It was like the first he was kicking all these white people's asses, and so Asians and Black people, like everybody, non-white dudes were hyped as fuck. They were like, yeah. This is how you do it, boys. Like this is and
I didn't even know that was the reason why like Black people were so like excited about it. But that's hilarious.
There's a very famous story of in New York, one of the first theaters to ever play Hong Kong movies. It was like the Shaw Brothers, like the Wu-Tang shit. I think it was in like 74 or some shit. But there was they called it a riot, but it was like the first midnight screening of a Kung Fu movie. And afterwards, everybody got out and just started. It's that song. Everybody was kung fu fighting.
No, that's
And so
dope.
then they called the cops because imagine it was just basically just like a bunch of city people. So it was like black, brown, white people, like all these people, all fucking getting hyped over kung fu and just fucking fighting
That's
in the streets and shit.
awesome.
And they called the fucking cops because they called it a riot. They said it was a riot. You know, I'm sure it turned into one, but like I'm sure at first everybody's just fucking around because they're just like, "Wah!"
Yeah. Oh, that's
Right?
dope.
It really like made a huge impact on the fucking culture. And then I think just Bruce Lee by himself as a star, like the idea that this Chinese guy is just fucking, he's just killing everybody and he's a star. You know what I mean? It's just like this.
Yeah.
That really, it gave a lot of, I think, like, there's a point of unity. It was a real point of unity. And one of the things I like to, like, I think about is like, did you know that the first desegregated infantry was for the Korean War?
No, what?
Yeah, the first time they desegregated the infantry was to go to Korea to go kill a bunch of Koreans. You know, like, so you know what I mean? So
wait,
it's like,
wait, in America?
yeah. So like World War I, before that, they had people. They had like, you know, in World War II, they had black units and Japanese units. You know, they had units, but they didn't officially desegregate the army.
Okay,
Like,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, because my brain immediately was like saw the loophole, but then I was like, oh, you said desegregated infantry, but
Right.
you're talking about a militarized America.
Yes, I'm talking about the not culturally. I'm talking about yeah.
Okay, because Civil War, there was a desegregated infantry, but
right
under a militarized America.
Well, technically during the Civil War, there was no such thing as segregation. You know what I mean? Like there was
just slavery.
There was
and
just slavery.
White people.
Yeah, there was just white and non-white. And if you were not white, you were either slave or you were not a slave. Like, yeah, there was white and there wasn't white, and then that's it. Like, and
yo,
then
dude, I was talking to somebody about that, about like the Civil War and fucking what was it? Like black Civil War heroes. I was like, that's why there weren't any black Civil War heroes, because all the black people were slaves. You couldn't have the best slave white killer of the Civil War and him be a hero.
No, you haven't. Fuck, I'm totally. This is when I'm blanking on this guy's name, but there's this famous story about a dude, runaway slave, ended up taking
Nate
over
Turner.
Confederates. No. He took over a fucking ship, dude, a Confederate ship. He basically took over it, killed everybody on board, and then faked like they were a Confederate ship and basically started shooting at other Confederate ships. Like he was like a pirate, essentially. Like you say, and then he joined the Union Navy.
Dope, but guess what? That never went really down like that in the papers back then. Like that was never
right. No.
You know what I'm saying? There was no hyped up black guy like Robert E. Lee.
Well, of course not,
War
Chip.
hero.
Of course not. What do you think? We're talking about the 1860s. We're talking.
That's what I'm saying.
We would both be killed for talking to each other. Do you understand? They wouldn't even let us talk to each other back then. They think we were fomenting revolution. Exactly. We get it.
Yeah, exactly. What are those two doing?
Well, that's the last thing they want. Well, that's that's the same reason why they didn't report on all the slave revolts that probably happened. You know what I mean? There's probably shitloads of slave revolts, but they didn't really tell us about them because you don't want everybody knowing about the slave revolt.
Because then more slaves will get emboldened to have revolts. Like
because then they'll turn into Haiti everywhere. You don't want it to be like Haiti, right?
Every slave would be like, wait, we can revolt? Like that's what would happen. Like
exactly.
We have the power to what?
And I feel like in general, that's actually the story of America, where the race was basically a weapon that they used against the underclass to basically just split them amongst each other so that they don't realize they could all unite. Like imagine if all the poor realized, can you imagine if all the poor was like, wait, race is stupid. It's about class. Why don't we all rise up?
Oh my God.
That's their nightmare. That's the nightmare.
Crazy.
I mean, without race, that's like race and politics is the only thing that's keeping these motherfuckers in check. Like, there's not.
Literally, if every poor person just decided, hey, let's all have each other's backs.
Yeah. What if it
we'd be
wasn't about
fine.
race? Yeah. What if? Yeah. What if we just all united and said, you know what, we want this. Like, what do you think would happen? Like, you know what I mean? They would literally call the army at first. I think they would call the army. First thing they would do is they would like make it into some kind of threatening thing, like try to get everybody thinking that, because you still have this sort of, even though it's declining, there's a middle class that's kind of like afraid of the poor, you know what I mean? So basically you can make it look like they're all racists or something, you know, they're all crazy, you know, like they're all, you know, and just kind of, but I don't know, man. I think it's basically the thing they meaning like the owners of the wealth, right? That's what they've been trying to prevent the entire history of this country. Is the last thing they want is everybody to unite, you know? Like, and I don't know. I just think about that all the time. I mean, because like race,
But
I
this
think
is
race
the
is,
United States. Well,
hey, bro,
how could they ever want us not to unite?
You're right. You're right. We should all demand healthcare. Listen, what if we just all did it together? Like, it'd still probably be like, nah. You know what? You know how hard it was just to get $1,200 out of them? Okay.
Oh my God.
Took 2 months for them to send $1,200.
And it took like another 2 weeks to convince them that wasn't enough.
I don't think do you think they're gonna do it? I don't know, man. I think if we were the banks, or if we were anybody else, they'd be like, here you go, and they'd just unleash the fucking things without a question. But when it comes to people, they're all like, well, we got to make sure that, you know, it's like, they're all like nickel and diming us, man. Like, it just, but I don't get it, man. What do you think? Like, what do you think's gonna happen? Because, well, first of all, you used to work at the Improv, right? You better get used to work at that. Mm-hmm. So you used to work at a place that is really hit hard by this shit, right? By lockdown, especially afterwards, people are gonna be like probably not as excited to be all in groups and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you can kind of foresee that it'll be a little bit before people kind of get back to the way things were. Like what was it like right before all this shit shut down? Like, there were just like tons of people out and shit, and there was just like what was it like? Yeah, it's like,
well, yeah, people were still coming out before it all shut down. Like, it was like people were still like, yeah, I remember it was like I think it was like March 10th or 9th or something like that. And I had just like hurt my Achilles, so I was on like light duty and everything. So I was switched over to box office and everything, but I just gotten healed up enough to where I was just starting to get back to like security. And my boss called me in that day and he was like, hey, and it was raining, and he was like, hey, some people, and I kind of heard about the coronavirus, but not really, you know, it hadn't really hit us yet. But I was still kind of nervous about it. And I was like, I don't think I want to, like, and I'd been inside just because I've been healing from my ankle anyway, my Achilles,
yeah.
right? So I've pretty much been in lockdown since December. I haven't been really going out.
right.
So going to work or going out for me was an effort. So I never really traveled anywhere. So it was raining that day. I was like, man, I don't want to get on the bus to go to work anyways. I'm on my crutches. I don't want to, no, right? So he was like, hey, he's like, what's up there, Chippy Doodle, Chipper Doo? And whenever he does that, there's always some
bad news.
shit. It's some bullshit. It's always some bullshit. Whenever he does the Chipper Dee do thing, there's some bullshit about to follow it. So he's like, yeah, so, you know, the Love It or Leave It show, they're thinking about not doing it because and I was like, oh yeah, because of the rain, not a lot of people are showing up. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I can make it because of the rain. He was like, yeah, it's not because of the rain. I was like, huh? He was like, yeah, well, yeah, it's just the corona thing. So I was like, oh, people aren't going to come in because of the corona. He was like, no, Love It or Leave It canceled the show because of Corona. I was like, Love It or Leave It never cancels.
Right.
Never. And I was like, Love It or Leave It canceled the show. He was like, yeah. He was like, but we're still gonna need some workers on for tonight and stuff. So I was wondering if you could still come. And I was like, oh yeah. Well, it is raining and stuff. Here, let me just check on something real quick, and then I'll call you back and see if I'm like if it's all good, right? I hang up, turn on the TV, and they were like, Tom Hanks has coronavirus. I was like, I'm going to work. I'm going to work. I'm like, no.
It's like, oh shit, they got Hanks? Hell no.
And then it was on Joe Rogan. I was like, all right, yeah. I
And,
watched it later on that night. Like after I was off work, it was on Joe Rogan. He had an expert on talking about coronavirus and how, and like, cause like right after that, it blew up. Right. And so then I was like, oh man, I'm so glad I didn't go to work. And then that's when the lockdown happened right after. So,
right.
So that's what was happening for like, from my perspective. There were still people coming out pretty much, but then everyone's just started even canceling their shows,
Yeah, that's fucking crazy how everything was just normal, and then suddenly not. It was just like fucking, I mean, actually, though, to be fair, I had been tracking this thing for a while. Like, when it was coming out of China and shit, like I had heard about it because it was going through Korea and all that. So there's all this news about it.
Well, I mean, I had heard about it, and there was news about it, and I was tracking it too because my cousin's always on the internet and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was thinking about going to India and shit, and I was like, yo, Mom, I don't think you should go to India. And she's like, it's not in India. My friend said she's fine, blah, blah. I was like, you know what? I really don't think you should go to India. So, and then, like, the lockdown happened, and she was like, all right. And I got a call from my mom, and she was like, you know what, Chipper, I was thinking I shouldn't go to India. I was like, now that we're on lockdown.
Yeah.
Now that we're on lockdown, now you think, oh, okay, Mom. All right.
Yeah, I mean, now the question is like, is comedy, like, so many comedy venues operate on like the restaurant model, you know what I mean? So you need people coming and buying shit in order to make rent, like it's just like they don't have a lot of cash on hand and shit,
Okay.
So that's the one thing, like, what do you?
Okay, thinking about it just from like the bottom up, right? Like from a server's perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you have a restaurant, 6 feet distance, right? So what? You have a one table section,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, essentially.
And then, right? And then on top of that, it's like all paper plates and plastic forks and shit, because you have to have throwaway stuff, On top of that, so we go above the server section. We go to the employer. So that's 6 feet of distance, right? We were saying one table section. So that's 6 feet of distance between each table, right? Whatever, right? Each party. Each 6 feet, each square 6 foot of that is money you're losing.
Yeah.
Every square 6 foot is money. Is money you're losing.
Right.
And so that's every hour you're open. So my thing is how are these businesses going to stay open if people aren't coming and they're losing 6 feet of square inch?
I don't see how it's going to work out. I don't. So then it makes me think, like, this is something I heard somebody say that essentially like Levity Live will probably be the only comedy club business in town. It's like, it's only giant corporations that are going to be able to withstand this turn down. You know what I mean? They're going to be able to withstand it. Then they're going to have a ton of cash and come in and buy up everything after everybody's like fucking bankrupt and like, foreclosed.
Oh my God.
Shit.
Levity Live is going to own Comedy Store.
Everything. Yeah. I'm serious. They could fucking come in and swoop in and like, because Comedy Store is what? They have 2 clubs, but they're not a corporation. They're not a giant corporation. That's what I'm saying, man. It's very possible that it's kind of like if fucking just Coke bought Pepsi or some shit. It's like there's like only 2 games in town, really, and it's just like if one bought the I mean, that's just like if Google bought Apple. They're just like, you know what, we're just gonna buy you guys. How's that? And at that point, I guess, look, man, if you're a fucking small business owner, like someone's offering you cash money, like, I mean, it's a tough choice, but fuck. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, maybe not. Well, no. I mean, who knows? But I just feel like the club, comedy club, and that's just here. The entire country, man. The fucking all club system operates on the nightclub restaurant system.
Bro,
So
bro.
yeah.
Think about all the comedy clubs you've been at across the country that were on their last
Yeah.
legs.
Yeah, exactly.
Always, like, always on like there's just like a rafter away from falling apart. Like,
yep. And now it's their
oh
crush.
my God.
It's done. I mean, 1 month is bad enough too. I mean, it's so many of them. You know what I mean? Like even, I mean, that's just like I heard some crazy the statistic about like 1 in 5 restaurants will survive. That's what they're projecting. Like the lockdown. That's
I have been seeing a lot of boarded up places. Old Fields is boarded up next to me.
What is that? Is that a restaurant?
It's a bar.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's gonna be tough, man. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I feel like in some, people are gonna do comedy. I saw you signed up for the fucking mic, the parking lot mic or whatever. Oh, you're not allowed to. Are you not allowed? What? It's completely socially distant. No. All right. I don't know. Is that? It's okay. It's public record. It's a matter of. This is a matter. I don't know. I'm not breaking any WikiLeaks.
no, yeah, I signed up for it. It's gonna be fun. I can't wait.
Isn't it fucking? Yeah, I was just like, fuck, dude. I just, I gotta get.
That was
something
amazing.
Out. Gotta get something out, man. Yeah.
That was just, that was everything, man. It was so.
Have you done
fun.
a show yet, or did you go? I know the OC opened up shit. Did you go down there or anything, or have you done any?
I've been doing a lot
Zoom
of
stuff.
I'm doing a lot of Zoom stuff.
Yeah,
a lot. I've been doing like I haven't been stopping doing comedy. I've just been doing it online. It just transferred onto line.
Right.
And that includes like writing new jokes and stuff. But I mean, you still don't know.
It's just
You're
not
doing the shows online, well, you don't know for sure, and because like, it's clearly not the same, right?
Yes.
And that's why we don't know for sure, because we can tailor our humor to this medium,
right?
But then we know it works in this medium,
right?
That's a different, like, live comedy is a different medium,
right?
So right now all I'm doing is I'm like, I hope this is transferable. Like what I'm doing in this medium that makes people laugh, I hope it's transferable when I do it live. That's all.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking it's kind of like, it's like cyber sex versus real sex, like you can get the job done, and some people are like really good at cyber, you know what I'm saying? Are like really good at it. But in real life, does it translate? Some of it translates. I feel like
see, I think I think one of the biggest crutches with this, excuse me, A is editing, and B is the borders of the screen.
Yep.
So because like you can do things with the borders and with editing, and that's like when there's like personalities that try to do stand-up comedy and they're like, this is so hard. It's because like you can do stuff like this, and like go out of frame and do stuff, you know what I'm saying?
That's funny. Yeah.
Exactly. So what I'm trying not to do is use those devices too much when I do stand up on here, because like my humor and comedy and naturally can see the joke, you know what I'm saying? You're like, oh, that would be, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're like, oh shit, we're like popping up and stuff. You can see it. Just fucking oh my god.
Yeah.
But so I'm trying not to do that as much, so that like when I am live performing, like I actually am doing the same motions.
Oh, I see. And so you're trying to keep it pure in a way, so that.
So like for instance, what I do when I'm performing here, let me see if I can hear. Hold up. I do it like this. I change it. I have it like that.
That's awesome.
When I'm doing the Zoom shows, I have it like that, and then I never sit down when I do the Zoom shows. I always stand
Nice.
and I perform like
A
that.
professional. That's right.
Within the frame. Well,
wait, are you saying people fucking sit down while they do this shit?
Yeah.
Oh god.
No, like every other Zoom person that I've seen, like they're sitting down instead of. I don't know. I like having the background.
Stand. Yeah. No, I agree with you, man.
But this is also a cheat going in.
Of course.
And stuff.
But you should use it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So,
honestly, I kind of feel you what you're saying of like, does it translate on stage or whatever? But at the same time, I think you shouldn't rob yourself of the laugh of the medium since you intuitively know how to use it. You know what I'm saying? Like you fucking know what tricks you can and funny things you can do with the camera. So like you might as well use it. I mean, I think that clearly you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't be all like, oh, on stage. Like,
right.
You know, obvious, but I think you're smart enough to know that. You know, I'll venture forth and say that. I think you've got a handle on it. And I don't know. I just feel like why rob yourself of the do not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. I just want.
I get it. I get it though from you're a purist. You're like in terms of the craft. You're a purist. It's a very purist perspective. I feel like
it's not just purist. It's almost like when someone who wields a sword practices a certain swing over and over the same way.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like if I can get this swing down on here, then my body will remember how to swing it out there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of where I'm coming from. I mean, but I do like to do those things from time to time just because it's fun. But I just don't want to get into the habit of doing those things and then forget or not know what to do, like with my hands in this moment right now, or you know.
Yeah. I feel like there's two very Asian things there. One is that philosophically it's very much like Miyamoto Musashi's, you know, once you see the way in one thing, you can see it in all things, you know what I mean? So like in that way you are seeking like the perfect stroke, like you're saying with the metaphor you're using the stroke, right? And in the other way you're Asian is that you pretty much said what I said, but you had to say it your way, which makes it the right way, which is just like my dad. Yeah, you're like, no, not what you said. Here, let me say it the better, in the way that I think is the right way, and this is the right way, in which I agree with. You know what? You're right. You're right, dude. That is, you're not a purist. You're clearly you are trying to seeking the perfect stroke. Of course. How could I?
Just like my dad.
I could see there was a great deal of Asian culture in your family. It really made an impact. I could see it, and it makes me proud. I think, like, you know, we are all one. Yeah.
You ain't lying.
Good stuff. Fuck. Hey, dude, fucking. Well, all right, let's wrap this thing up. But thank you for joining me, man. Thank you for your time and everything.
Of course.
Had a great time talking to you. Like, where can people see you, or where should they follow you and shit to see where you do?
Please follow me at Chip Nicholson. That's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can definitely every Tuesday on Zoom. You can check my Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter for the Zoom meeting ID and password, and DM me if you want that password. But we have a Tuesday show every Tuesday, and we work with a fundraiser, different fundraiser every Tuesday, and we have different comedians on, so you can check that out. Other than that, there's shows always going on. I put out videos.
Fucking just follow Chip Nicholson, Instagram, Twitter, same handle. It's the one up there. The one. Nice.
Right there.
Yeah. I'll put this out, the video part out, so that people can see that shit. And fucking, dude, thank you so much for your time. And fucking, hope you are. Well, I'll see you soon. Actually, I'll see you.
Right.
I'll see you from afar.
Friday, right?
Friday? No, I think it's Saturday, dude. I think it's
Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's the 16th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
All right, man.
All right. Late.